Hello, my name is Katie Smith and I'm your LexisNexis rep. Today we're here to talk about jump-starting your research for your closed memo. Everyone has been given a handful of cases to use for their closed memo. So today, my goal is to walk you through pointing out some key resources on Lexis, and then we're going to utilize these cases and we're going to get you started on synthesizing your rule. If you were unable to attend this training in person, please let me know you were here by doing the follow-up quiz that you can find in the link under the announcements page where you found the video. All right, let's get started. First, a couple things on the home page. Here you have your Manage My Rewards account. If you aren't enrolled in rewards, you should be. Today's training, you can qualify for a $5 gift card, which is 400 points. Check out this subsequent training, How Do I Find More Authority? Eventually, you guys will be trying to find more cases on your own. This training will walk you through that. Make sure you're registered before you leave today. And finally, you have my information and your student reps. We are all equipped and ready to help you through this research process. So let's go over to Lexis Advance. All right, now before we get started, we're going to create a folder. Why should we create a folder? Well, as I mentioned, this is just the beginning of your research on this project. So I want you to be able to come back to your research quickly and pick up where you left off. So here I've created my folder, First Open Memo. I also have, so this is where you would create a new folder. And here you can also create subfolders. So while I'm in this folder, I can create a new folder and have a new issue if I need to. All right, so now that you've created your folder, you have your 1L memo, fall. I'm going to show you a couple of the things that I've saved here. But this is where you're going to come back to and pick up your work where you left off. Let's jump into our research. All right, so we were all given cases to work with today, so we don't need to play around with research terms just yet. The first case we're going to open up is 109 wash 2D 691. Today we're working on trying to synthesize our rules, correct? So I'm going to walk you through how to use these cases and make that synthesizing a lot easier. So we have Perry here, and we're going to scroll down, and the first thing you're going to read is the case summary. Whenever you open up a case, review the case summary so you can kind of get your bearings on what you're working with. The next resources you're going to use is LexisNexis headnotes. These are different than any other headnotes or keynotes that you might come across. Lexis headnotes are the rules of law as stated within the opinion of the case. So here you see headnote 1, and it lays out our 3-factor test of reasonableness for a covenant not to compete. This is what we're working with, trying to find these rules and then create a memo that synthesizes them. And the headnotes is where we're going to start. So we have this headnote here. As we keep going through and reviewing our headnotes, we have another headnote here that talks about the necessity of the covenant not to compete. And here we have how the court's going to review it. So when you find out your case and you pull out the rules, you need to see them in the opinion. So let's use this arrow and jump into the opinion. So here's our rule, headnote 1, and here's some analysis of that rule. And that's why jumping into the opinion is so critical. This is the part where you're starting to build your understanding of how these rules work and how you're going to argue them as you work on this project. So I'm going to copy this. And when I pick a new format, I pick standard and I hit apply. And standard is our blue book format. So now you have your rule here with analysis, and you have the citation where you got it. Now, whether you're working in your Word document or in notes, you can cut and paste this and remember that you got it, where you got it from, and what pinpoint citation you can locate it at. And this will help you as you're synthesizing your rule to remember, okay, this is where I got this rule from, and you can start to really put these pieces together. Another option you have, and this can help you again as you're working on this project, you're going to come back to this. Let's annotate it. And I always choose annotate with a highlight because if you print this out, it'll print with your highlights and your annotations, so it can be helpful to figure out what you're working with. So I'm going to annotate this. So you see I have my note here. Before we move on, let's make our first save to our folder. So again, when you're ready to keep working on this, you come back to your folder, you have your highlights, your notes, and you can move on. So just briefly about these orange pieces of paper here. Now one of the things that's interesting is as you're working through this problem, you'll realize at some point, like, I know nothing about covenant not to compete. And even if you do kind of know a little bit, you still need some more information to help you make the best argument possible. And so these orange squares are indication that we have a topic summary report available on this issue. So if I click on that, this opens up what I call a cheat sheet on this legal issue. Now the jurisdiction is federal, so keep that in mind. But the point is you're trying to build your knowledge base on this issue. So it covers the use and enforceability of non-competition and non-disclosure agreements. We have some cases that help lay out those rules. And the elements, again, we're trying to synthesize our rules, right? So every indication of breaking down the elements and breaking down the rule is going to help. So our secondary sources. Now, Corbin on Contracts is a well-known source, but secondary sources in general is where you're going to be able to build your knowledge on a certain issue. So here we have burden of proof and standard of review, both also very critical in your memo writing process. So you can save these to your folder. I highly recommend doing so. One alpha memo. All right, here's where you'll indicate whether you have it saved in a folder. And then let's jump back to our case. So I'm going to jump back to the top of my case here. We've covered what headnotes stand for and why they're important. Remember, they are the rules of law as cited in the opinion, so you can quote your headnotes. The other thing is I go back to my About section on this case. And, looking forward, you're going to start working on this, and if you start working on it before our training on the 3rd, a way that you're going to find additional resources is by shepherdizing your document. So let's shepherdize our case. So shepherdizing this is a twofold thing, and a shepherd's report gives you everything you'd ever want to know about Perry Boomerang, all the cases that have cited to it, its appellate history, and any secondary sources that have also cited it. You're looking at this shepherd's report to see what rules of law from Perry are still good rules of law, and then also what other cases are out there that cite to Perry as an authority. And so here you're going to spend your time using the analysis section to determine if you have good law. And then we'll scroll down to our headnotes. And we know headnote 1 was a rule that we wanted to find. And so if I narrow my shepherd's report, so by clicking on headnote 1, I've narrowed my shepherd's report to all of those cases that also cite that rule of law. And here on this section over here, you see on the right, headnotes. It's referencing these through rules of law. Okay. So now I have more authority that is citing my rule of law. So let's wrap up. We have our case. You're going to go through this process with each of the cases that you have, no matter the issue you're working on. You're going to read the case summary. You're going to review your headnotes for the rules of law. You're going to jump into the opinion to see about the analysis and kind of where the pieces fall in together. And then you're going to save it to your folder. And the last thing, for those of you who really like to print, you can print for free on Lexis. It does not go against your print pages. So up at the top here, you have delivery, document, choose new settings. And this gives you the option to print to a LexisNexis printer. You have 2 downstairs and then basement library alcove prints, and you're ready to jumpstart your research. I hope you found this training very beneficial. If you have questions, concerns, please follow up with me. I'm at the table in the hallway at least twice a week, or my student reps, as I mentioned before, are very equipped to help you. All of our information is here on the home page, and I hope to see you at this training on the 3rd. And in the meantime, good luck with your research.